Hey guys, this is the monthly release for Baileywiki. If you don't know what kind of work we do around here, we try to connect art and technology using Foundry and Dungeon Draft to create some really memorable experiences for your players. This is a release video where we walk through usually one large monthly release of new assets, often modular assets, sometimes premium scenes, and other types of things that you can immediately throw into your games and start to do your prep work with them. So this month's release is all about slums and ruins, also some interactions. So how it took me this long to develop these, I don't know, but because you need ruins and slums in like every game. But I'm pretty excited about the result. As you've come to expect, it's not just new rundown assets that help you make whole slums of cities or ruins of buildings in any environment, but these are modular and dynamic. So the ruins snap together almost by magic to let you create lots of kind of ruins designs. And now the roofs in the town facades can be turned into damaged and burned types with just the click of a macro. So you also have new damage tiles to rough up any other roof that you want to rough up. And all of this is deployed in prefabs and lots of new sample scenes that you can jump into immediately and start playing with and make modifications. But that's not all. There are two brand new libraries of deployable interactive elements in the Towns module and the Cabal Dungeon module. In them, you'll find traps, puzzles, and set pieces to hopefully wow your players without having to research and develop these yourself. There are example scenes and areas featuring these elements in the Towns and Dungeon modules. So let's jump into the detailed walkthrough. So first of all, this release introduces a new city district. It's District 4, called the Slums and Ruins. That's where we'll put future assets that kind of fit that criteria. You'll find new prefabs in the District 4 Actor Compendium and new scenes in District 4 Scene Compendium. You'll also want to import the macro for cycling roofs called Change Selected Roof Tiles. It's in the Towns macro compendium. And finally, the new Dungeon Ruin assets are in the Cabal Dungeon Actor and Scenes compendium. The interactive elements can be found in the existing Towns compendium. So things to keep in mind, these new scenes will generally always require Towns module assets along with new assets. Some will require the Dungeon module. If you see missing tile errors, like it's the white tile with the exclamation point, it probably means that you haven't installed all of the modules yet. So let's talk about Slums Assets. First, find the new release inventory scene in the District 4 Scene Compendium. It'll show you everything that's released with the slums. And if you click into it, you can see the file paths for the tiles in that release, and you'll find other goodies in there too, not just prefabs. You can also search Molinet for these things as well. Here we see the new building types, just homes for now, but generic enough for you to add tiles, equipment, NPCs to hook your plot lines or just to have explorable scenes for your players. And of course, you can use other building types here and just replace the roofs with a more damaged version if you want to use some of the other few hundred assets from the Towns module. You also have these new damage tiles that you can apply to any roof in your game. Just follow the path to see where to find them. You can resize and rotate them as you need to. I recommend if you use multiple together to sort of shape your roofs, that you use the occlusion ID function of levels to make them all occlude together whenever someone walks underneath one of them. And finally, you can see the new damaged roof styles for the facades, all of which can be changed with the update macro, which I'll show you here in a second. And you can cycle between damaged and burned versions along with the existing versions, including the snowy versions. So to cycle these roof images, first you'll find all the city prefabs in the Towns module, Actor Compendium. Just search Facade, drag it into your scene, turn on Quick Edit mode, select the roof tiles, and then click the new updated macro, which you can find again in the Towns macro compendium. Next up are the ruins. These are a series of specially designed tiles that snap together like almost magically. So check it out. There are even burned down versions. They can be resized by resizing the control tokens, and they link together. Pay attention to the ones labeled connector. These have special edges that let them overlay on each other to create corridors or additional rooms. You want to put your connectors on top of the other ones because they have this kind of feathered edge that make them lay on top of other ones really well. So you may have to change your Z order, put one on top of the other, and then you might have to adjust your walls when you're done placing everything just so that the walls all make sense. There are also new turret designs that let you create like an alcove, kind of a rounded alcove, or even whole towers. Don't miss the new stairs that are in the same folder, but they embed easily into the floors to either go up or down. So you can, again, make towers, or you can have egress points going into a dungeon or something like that in another scene. You also get special decor tiles like fireplaces to dress up and sort of vary your designs. And you have special wall prefabs and tiles that basically link together in unlimited ways on any background. There are also special prefabs that can be placed on the second level to even give you or your NPCs additional tactical elevations, like from which to like hide and shoot. They even have built-in stair drawings so your players can go automatically up or down. Just when you place them, make sure you turn your levels UI off and just drag them onto the scene, and they should automatically place to the second level. And then the drawings that support them will go onto the first level. Also, don't miss the new ruined roofs. They're great for hiding surprises within your ruins if you want some roofs covering some areas. And finally, no ruin would be complete without a ruined dungeon below it. So the dungeon module features the new ruined dungeon assets, featuring all new flexible rooms, including a large boss room that you can resize and reposition, change the subfloor material. And there's also a new custom dungeon draw theme for you to design your dungeon any way you want. Just add your favorite Forgotten Adventures or Tom Kartos tiles, or some of the other decor items throughout the rest of the dungeon and castle sets, for example, to dress this up. So what can you build with these new assets? Well, let's look at the new scenes in the District 4 scene compendium. Keep in mind, none of these scenes have been optimized. What I mean by that is they haven't been flattened to single tiles using something like DF Architect. So this is so you can come in here and make changes, move stuff around, see how these different assets were used together, and you can see their paths where you could find them. And this will just help you think of how you can design your own scenes or customize these ones in the future. Watch my tutorial on DF Architect on how to flatten your images when you're all done. It just helps for performance. So first off, the burned down cabin with some of Gorgon's animated smoke tiles just looks really good. This is just a great cabin that's now smoldering in the woods. You could have a duplicate scene of this where you have an intact cabin and then they come back later and it's burned down. The City of the Dead shows off the modular ruins really pretty extensively, and it's got some of our matte Monk's Active Tiles powered webs up in the corner, so you can see how some of these interactions can be brought into your scenes to do some interesting things. There's the Cliffside Ruins, which is also, this whole ruin is available as a very large prefab. It's in your actor compendium for District 4. The dig site has some sort of excavation happening here. It's a great for interesting battle, but I've also put this little egress down into a dungeon. It's just a tile that you can remove or hide or expose as you like. The Hilltop Ruin is sort of a Lord of the Rings style hilltop ruin. Again, just different ways of using the assets together. This one's ready to play. And finally, the Slums, which uses a combination of assets and a little bit of FX Master Effects, kind of build the ambiance. But you can see some of the new slum assets here. You can see the roof types and the burned down buildings as well. And with the dungeon ruin scene, which is in your dungeon compendium, the hallways were painted with Dungeon Draw and then exported as a file. So if you want to create a custom scene or change how these hallways lay out, you can just wipe out the background tile and remove the walls and then use Dungeon Draw. There's an actual custom texture that matches the rest of this. It's inside the same folder as all of these tiles here. And just draw your hallways and paint your base magic texture here under this kind of floor area any way that you want. So that's it for this part. Now Zephyr is going to talk about the new expanded library of interactive elements.
The interactive elements are the last aspect of this release. Here we can see the total inventory of the interactive elements, and you can find these in the Baileywiki Maps Premium Towns Prefabs Compendium, and they're going to be inside of the new folder at the moment, and there is a interaction subfolder. that's eventually going to get moved out in the future release, but that's where you can find all of these. Not every single one of these is showcased on this particular inventory screen, but you will be able to see a wide variety of what we've got in here. First up, we have these walls of light. There are 3 variants of that. First is the key version. If you watched the latest Automating Foundry installment, you saw how we made this, and you can take a look at that for more information. I have a manual version that is flipped via a switch. You can also hook it up to other triggers. And finally, we have a proximity-based one to give just a really cool visual effect, and it's going to open for anybody no matter what they have in their inventory. Next, we have a wide variety of key-locked doors. This was in the previous Automating Foundry video, and you'll notice that if you have quick edit mode on with Token Attacher, you're able to cycle between multi-face tiles here, so you can go through all of the different styles of 2-wide and single-wide doors that we use in our library, so it will always be matching the style of building that you're using with the rest of the modular system. And the same thing goes for single doors. Over here in this other bank, we have teleporting doors. So these doors are also locked by a key, but if you don't have the key, you're still going through the door, just not to the other side. You'll teleport to a different destination, and there are deployable destination spots over here that are going to have someone teleport to their location, and then a special effect will play by using lights. If you want to learn how any of these work or you want to make any adjustments, simply open up the triggers there, and specifically the main thing you're probably going to want to do is change out your keys. It's by name, so you can swap it to rusty key or iron key, whatever you want. If you want to use the defaults and you don't want to create your own versions of those items, we now include a items compendium with both towns and dungeons where you can find the keys. So here we have the iron key that is used for the locking doors, and we have a few different strange books which are used for some of the bookshelves that we saw briefly in the castle library. So you're free to use all of these, or you can just rename items that you already have. Because this is by name and these items are super simple, this will work across almost all Foundry systems. If you've got an issue with any of them, please let us know in our Discord, and we'll see about a solution for your particular system. In addition to the doors, we also have these really nice weakening floor tiles, where depending upon how many times they've been stepped on, they're going to get less and less stable. So the first time you step on one, it is going to give you an auditory crack sound, pretty small, but you're going to see some damage. The next time someone steps on it, it will get worse, indicating that there's been more pressure here, so it can only wait so many times. The third time, the whole floor is going to collapse, and it's going to function like a hole. Then, if you need to reset everything, there is a control that is deployable that will reset every single one of the deployable weakened floors. They come in 1-wide, 1x2, and 2x2 variants. The next interactive element we have is this variety of bookcases. These aren't all of the different elements that we have, as there's quite a few different permutations you can have. And if you want to see how these work and reverse engineer them, or you want to combine some of their effects, then you can dive into the triggers. We don't have a showcase of this, but this is our 5e investigation check version. So if you want to know how to do that in 5e, here you go. So opening up these tile triggers is a great way to make even more use out of these already fairly robust setups. We've got a variety of different doors that will slide open or rotate open, and you can reverse engineer those with ease. We've also got the return of the slide trap from the Gothic Castle, but this time powered by Monk's active tile triggers. Classically, whenever you step into the zone, it will reveal the slide, you're going to scream, and slide down to the end of it. We also have new toggleable light switches and light sources, similar to the original torch from our first edition of Interactive Elements. Also included are some switches that will only flip if someone is close by, and they will alternate between 2 different artworks. And I have one rigged up to this manual activation of a light wall, just to show you a little bit of what you can do with those. They're not set up to do a lot of different things. They're mostly there for you to be able to easily hook something up that looks good to your already existing active tile triggers. Now, going over a few different key features, there are reset icons that are added to some of the different prefabs. mostly the ones that will deactivate themselves or apply a tag to themselves indicating that they're no longer ready to go. And these reset tiles that are bundled with it are GM only and on click, and they will automatically reset things and give you a sound notification that they did so. Another important note is that a lot of these heavily rely on tagger in order to function. Some of them, it's just modifying a large group of items at a time, but others will actually be adding tags to themselves or to other tiles. And so it's important that when you drag this out, even though we're using the wildcard function, and we'll see that it's automatically iterated to 1, you'll see that under the tagger add and remove tags, it does not actually update that. So we have to go in and change the pound symbol or the hashtag that is in curly brackets into the number that the rest of the tile's actions have automatically updated to. So that's really important to go through and do. It is the main source of troubleshooting you'll need to do if you're using a lot of the really complex prefabs included here. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully we'll have something that will automatically do that for us with Monk's active tiles soon, but for now, just make sure that you go through and you set these up. Most of these, once you actually make the edit, you can just run the tile again and it will sort itself out. But just keep that in mind. Moving over to the Cabal Dungeon edition of the active tiles, I don't have a large amount showcased on this inventory screen, but you can find them within the Baileywiki Dungeon Actors Compendium. It's going to be under New, and it will have Puzzles and Traps as a subfolder. There's a lot of different permutations you can do here, and the interactive dungeon prefabs are significantly more complex than a lot of the town ones. So you're going to be doing a lot of tweaking when you use these anyway, so I didn't create a slew of different configurations here because everyone's going to customize them a little bit differently. So here we have things to convert different orbs, and you may have seen a little bit of the orbs in our first walkthrough. We'll do a little more explanation of that in a moment when we take a look at the Magic Tomb. A really great tile that I'm very proud of and happy about is this altar. You'll notice that this has a whopping 125 different actions on it, and this goes through and checks for 4 different keys. And if a player has more than one key, it's going to go down the line and ask them which one they would like to use, with each key giving a slightly different result. So here, if you want to use the exact ones I used, there are these different orbs that are now located in the new Baileywiki Dungeon Items Compendium. This is set up to just kind of change the appearance of the altar, but you can see the framework with which I approached this, and you can then make a lot of different customizations on it. If we go take a look at the Magic Tomb, you will see a much more advanced application of this altar in action. The Magic Tomb is a puzzle dungeon where the main room is dominated by this altar. Approaching the altar with nothing in hand reveals that there is a depression in the altar that is perfectly spherical, and there's got to be something around here that will fit in that slot. It was clearly made for something. Investigating a little further, there is a door that has a teleport trap on it, and that is going to actually take us throughout the rest of the dungeon. So in order to progress through this dungeon, players will have to collect the different orbs, and your first orb is actually going to be going through this teleport trap door. As you saw in the brief demo earlier, it teleported us down here into this lower wing where we gathered 2 different orbs that we can then use on the altar. In a moment, I'll show you a bit of a run through it, but basically we're going through and we're using different orbs, or we're changing them into other colors in order to open up these walls of light, and as we do that, we're also going to be changing the motif. Opening up this tile, you can see where things get a lot different really quickly. So for example, the first section of it is pretty similar to that original tile, but I've also gone in and made the blue orb itself not do a lot, so that's a completely different function, and we're also triggering these different walls of light separately as a part of these different actions. So if you're looking to see ways you can create your own interactive effects, this is a great one to reverse engineer. That's going to do it for the interactive elements of this release. I'm going to leave you with a demo of the Magic Tomb as Baileywiki closes us out.
So that's it, guys. That's the release for June. Remember, you can get the dungeon draft files as well if you're a current Patreon. There's also the archive for those of you at tier 3. And let us know in the comments what you get along with the best here, and what you'd like to see next. Of course, if you like the interactive elements, if you'd like us to do more of those or certain types of interactions that maybe you're struggling with, let us know in the comments.